Part 3. How to prepare the abstract. From this picture, we can see an abstract art. It means the picture you have to imagine what it looks like. However, an abstract in a paper should be reviewed as miniature version of the paper. The abstract should provide a brief summary of each of the main sections of the paper, such as introduction, materials, methods, results, and discussion. All these sections should be included in the abstract. Usually, for the abstract, shouldn't exceed the length specified by the journal. Commonly cannot exceed 250 words, and it should be designed to define clearly what is dealt with in the paper. The abstract should include: the first should state the principal objectives and scope of the investigation. Second, should describe the methods employed. Third, should summarize the results. And last, should state the principal conclusions. The importance of the conclusions is indicated by the fact that they are often given 3 times. You guys have to know how to pay attention about the conclusion. The conclusion have to be given 3 times, once in the abstract, another in the introduction, again in more details probably in the discussion. So the principal conclusion are important component for a paper. For most all of the abstracts should be written in the past tense because it refers to work done. For the work have already been done, so the most of the abstracts should be written in the past tense. Also, the abstract should never give any information or conclusion that is not stated in the paper. That means the abstract have to be related with the paper. And also, literature must not to be cited in the abstract. You usually cannot have any reference in the abstract, except in the rare instance, such as modification of a previously published method. In a rare instance, normally, the abstract should not include or refer to tables or figures. Most of the time, abstract was composed of text. There usually have 2 types of abstracts. One is informative abstract. It is designed to condense the paper. For the informative abstracts, the preceding rules apply to the abstracts that are used in primary journals, or often without change in the secondary sources, like some of the chemical abstracts, This kind of abstracts have no change, is okay. It can and should briefly state the problem. For the informative abstracts, should briefly state the problem, the methods used to study the problem, and the principal data and the conclusions. That means it's similar as the whole papers. The structure of the informative abstract is similar to the whole papers. Open, the abstract supplies the need for reading the full paper. Without such abstracts, scientists would not be able to keep up in active area of research. This kind of abstract is useful to attract other readers' attention to continue to read the paper. Informative abstract is the type of abstract that can precede the body of the paper, such as serving as a heading in most of journals. There also have another kind of type of abstracts, indicative abstract. This kind of abstract, sometimes also called a descriptive abstract, usually is designed to indicate the subjects dealt with in a paper, much like a table of contents, making it easy for potential readers to decide whether to read the paper. This kind of indicative abstract, the content is not totally similar to the structure of the paper. However, because of the described rather than substantive nature, it can seldom serve as a substitute for the full paper. Some information in the papers you cannot find from this kind of indicative abstract. So, indicative abstracts should not be used as heading abstracts in research paper, but they may be used in other types of publications, such as review papers, conference reports, or government reports. So, in most of scientific papers, this kind of indicative abstract cannot be used. Such indicative abstracts are often of great value to reference librarians. For the abstracts, we have to know the importance of economy of words. Occasionally, a scientist omits something important from abstracts. By far, most common fault is the inclusion of extraneous detail. Today, most scientific journals print an abstract before the main text of each paper. Because the abstract precedes the paper itself, and because the editors and reviewers like a bit of orientation, the abstract is almost always the first part of the manuscript reading during the review process. So, we have to make the abstract with economy of words. If you put a lot of words in the abstract, perhaps the reviewer will not like it. Therefore, it is of fundamentally important that the abstract be written clearly and simply. It's very important for your paper to be accepted. Very often, the reviewer may be close to the final adjustment of your manuscript after reading the abstract alone. Perhaps after reading your abstract, he will have an idea whether accept or reject your paper. This could be because the reviewer has a short attention span. However, if by definition the abstract is simple, a very short version of the whole paper. It is only logical that the reviewer will often reach a preliminary conclusion and that the conclusion is likely to be the correct one. So the abstract, for the abstract is simply very short version of your whole paper. If the reviewer read your abstract, perhaps he or she will know whether your paper is good enough. Just like usually a good abstract is followed by a good paper, a poor abstract is hummingbird of woes to come. So, for the scientist should master the fundamentals of abstract preparation. The abstract is important things for the paper. When writing the abstract, examine every word carefully. You have to be carefully. If you can tell your story in 100 words, don't use 200. Economically and scientifically, it doesn't make sense to waste words. In here, it's not in this case the model better. It's not. You have to be clearly, simply, clearly. That will be good. The total communication system can afford only so much verbal abuse. If you have a lot, you know the results. The reviewer will reject your paper. Most important things for you, the use of dear significant words will impress the editors and the reviewers, whereas the use of abstruse verbal constructions might well contribute to a check in the reject box on the review form. Sometimes we have this kind of step to finish our abstract. First, we should read the completed manuscript thoroughly. Then select the relevant area and its headings of the abstract. Then ensure emphasis in the abstract in the order: results, message, conclusion, background. The results should be very, very important thing. Then revise and refine the abstract. And to the next step is assess the abstract for its representativeness. And get the abstract read by an independent person to assess whether it is comprehensive. In the fourth, fifth, sixth step, every step you can, if the answer is no, you have to revise and refine the abstract. And finally, you can finalize the abstract. So from this kind of step, we have to finish the whole manuscript, then finish the abstract, usually in this kind of case. And if you first get your abstract finished, you have to revise and refine the abstract, how to ask somebody else to read it, and then revise and refine the abstract again and again. Finally, finalize the abstract. Here have some other points to the abstract, akin to the abstract things. Some journals also include, in addition to abstracts, also include other components briefly covering key points to readers, skimmers, or browsers. For example, some journals ask authors to provide a bulleted list of key messages of their articles, either for posting only online or for publication as part of the article as well. If the journal asks you you have to provide some other key messages. Other journals also require a non-technically summary or a brief statement of implications. Some journals require such items to accompany all papers submitted. Others require them only for some or all of the papers accepted for publication. Also, in this case, if the journal asks you provide no technical summary or a brief statement of implications, you have to provide it. Just keep in your mind, beware that you may be asked to provide an abstract of your abstract. So, you have to know what's your paper about, what's the conclusion, and everything included in your paper. Another thing is keywords. Do you know keywords? Keywords are part of the abstract submitted to the journals and identify the core concept of the study. Almost all the papers have this part, keywords. They are the words which are often used by readers in the research engines to retrieve the abstract. Journals, search engines, and abstract surveys often classify journals based on the keywords. The visibility of the article to the interested audience is decided based on the title and the keywords provided. So sometimes the keywords is same important as the title. So you have to provide the keywords carefully. Hence, use appropriate keywords can help the potential readers in easily identifying the abstract and also increase your chances of being cited. They are interesting, your keywords, then perhaps they can cite your paper. For the keywords, usually we only use keywords that are separate from the title and ensure a wider search for the report. You can find some word from the title as keywords. Only use single or two words. Avoid use sentence or multi-words. Keep in your mind. Journals generally allow 3 to 5 keywords to include in the manuscripts. You have to read through your manuscripts and identify words or phrases that are used repeatedly. Make a list of these main items along with a few additional ones. That means if the word used in your paper repeatedly more, then use it as keywords. Care should be taken to add the common variants of the term and abbreviations to your list of keywords. Sometimes, perhaps it's different for if you put cancer or put your neoplasia in your article, in your keywords. Although perhaps they are similar meanings, you have to be keeping in mind which one to choose. Before finalizing your list of keywords, refer to the Common Index Standard such as MESS, that means medical education subject headings, to find some the web to see which one is whether your keyword is the common indexing standard, and ensure the term used are matching with that of standard. That's also important. If your keywords, if you put a word as keywords but nobody can search it, then that means nothing. So at last, we give a summary for the abstract. A good abstract should be as representative of the study with special emphasis on the results and the message. A brief, preferably one-line introduction with a clear and concise take-home message will make an effective and good abstract. So your abstract have to be clear and concise as a take-home message. And for your abstract, for an effective abstract writing is an art. It's an art. Everybody like art. That every researchers should master so as to enhance their readability. It's advisable to tailor the abstract to the requirements of the journals to which the study is to be submitted. So you have to tailor the abstract to the requirements of the journals. Though challenging, the time spending in writing an effective abstract and identifying appropriate keywords are worthwhile. For these two smallest components have a major impact on the dissemination of your research. So if we spend more time on this abstract and the keywords is worthwhile. That's for this part. Thank you for your attention.